Vacant Ventures Corp. is a potash exploration company focused on the Korat Basin in Thailand, the world's largest undeveloped potash resource. Vacant's management has extensive potash exploration and development experience in Thailand. Vacant will have marketing advantage compared to Western producers. Drill program commences this spring. Vacant trades on the TSX Venture, symbol VCV, and on Frankfurt, symbol V8V2. Visit our website, vacantventures.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Sean Brodrick. He's the senior editor for WeissRatings.com. Welcome back to the show, Sean.
Thanks very much for having me on.
Do you have a glowing report for us on uranium?
Well, in fact, I do. I, in fact, sent one to my subscribers last week, and then we started adding some positions, and then some interesting things happened. The main one of which, right now, the lower house of Russia's parliament is considering a law prohibiting the state Russian nuclear company from selling uranium to U.S. buyers. And we buy 14% of our uranium fuel from Russia. Now, you might think 14% isn't that much, but prices are made on the margin. And so this actually has been quite bullish for uranium stocks. They are taking off. We really had good timing on that one, but that's more luck than anything. But it's part of a larger trend, because what I am seeing in the uranium market is some incredible tightness. We have seen just supplies go lower and lower and lower because of producers around the world cutting back and like that kind of thing. And at the same time, we're having more nuclear power plants come on. Japan is restarting all the nuclear power plants that it closed down after its horrible Fukushima accident. China's bringing more nuclear power plants online. There are new plants elsewhere in the world that are also approved. So it's actually quite a bullish environment. And uranium tends to move in big cycles, and it's very near the bottom of one of those cycles. So it should be much easier for the price of uranium to move higher than lower from here. It's not going to be a straight line, but definitely looks like a bullish environment.
Why has it taken uranium so long to really start to move?
I know. I've been hearing from uranium producers that any second now we were going to see, or I shouldn't say any second now, but any month now we were going to see the bottom in uranium. But they've been telling me that for like 3 or 4 years now. And it's been one thing after another. I mean, it's not just what happened in Japan where they had, 3 meltdowns that then caused Japan to shut down their nuclear power plants. There were other issues around the world that really kind of took the wind out of uranium sales. That's kind of mixing a metaphor, but you'll have to forgive me on that one. But meanwhile, it is a good backup for things like wind and solar and stuff like that, because it works during the nighttime. So if you want your country to move to alternative fuels, it's nice to have that backup. And I think that's starting to put a shine back on uranium now.
What is going on with pot?
Well, some very interesting stuff. There is a senator in Colorado who put the kibosh on Department of Justice nominees until President Trump agreed to back off on the whole pot situation and let it be handled in a federal manner. That is, protect states' rights, let those states that have legalized it continue on their path, and not take a heavy federal hand in marijuana. This is just in the U.S. Up in Canada, you seem to be rolling along. Everyone knows that and all that stuff. So, but here in the U.S., that was a big change, because we had seen Attorney General Jeff Sessions, who's a, part-time, he's a part-time Pinocchio impersonator. He has been leaning more and more toward actually taking an active role in clamping down on cannabis-related industries. So he actually did away with something called the Cole Memo, which protected companies in those states that had legalized marijuana on a state level. And so since he did away with that memo, there was a lot of fear in the industry, but that seems to be lifting now. That doesn't mean Jeff Sessions is going to go away, but President Trump has given his word that the U.S. government, the federal government, will proceed in a more friendly manner. And so that lifts some fear off the market. That's why we saw, or at least I believe that's why we saw marijuana stocks rally so hard earlier this week. They're pulling back today, many of them. Some of them aren't. And it may have lifted the weight off the industry. We'll have to see. A few days does not make a trend. We really need to see a breakout, but definitely that was some good news to see in that industry.
Yes, and the irony here is we're going to have legal pot in B.C. There's already legal pot in Washington State, but crossing the border, it's still illegal.
Well, it depends on the kind of legality you are talking about. I mean, certainly you have legal medical marijuana up there, and I can tell you in California for the longest time, everyone was getting sick with everything so they could get legal medical marijuana. Now they don't have to do that anymore. It'll be good to have all the hypocrisy taken out of life when this stuff actually becomes legal and people can actually be honest about what they're doing. And of course, there's also the a tax issue as well. I mean, it's a great source of tax revenue for states. And as with the lifting of alcohol prohibition, that's probably going to be one of the things that really drives it going forward, is states need that money.
Could you see legalization of pot being a major federal election issue next vote in the U.S.?
Well, if President Trump sticks by his guns and makes things easier for marijuana companies, no. If Attorney General Jeff Sessions somehow wins the argument and President Trump has to go back on the agreement that he made, then yes, it could be an issue. So we'll have to see how things develop. Again, nothing is set in stone. These are just agreements that were made. But the market reacted in a very positive manner to that agreement. So that's what's working for it now.
We'll have more with Sean Brodrick right after the break.
Arctic Star Exploration, operated by a team of proven mine finders, is focused on diamonds in Finland and the Northwest Territories of Canada. A work program is planned for our Finland property that contains diamond-bearing kimberlite. Arctic Star trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ADD, and the Frankfurt Exchange, symbol 82A1. Please visit our website at arcticstar.ca or call us at 604-689-1799.
I'm Brian Fowler, president of Blind Creek Resources Limited, listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, ticker symbol BCK. Blind Creek is focused in the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and British Columbia. The company's key property is the Blend Project, one of the largest undeveloped lead zinc silver deposits in Western Canada, plus plans to advance the recently acquired, fully permitted historic engineered gold mine in the Atlan district of northwestern BC. Check us out at blindcreekresources.com.
Okay, how's that now? Is
Let
that
me hear.
Better.
I still hear an echo.
But echo. Now is it doing it? We
can just go through with it if it's okay. I mean,
I'm turning down my send to you as much as possible. I'm virtually sending nothing your way.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry about it. We'll just, because I can actually talk over it. It's like something I've done before, so don't worry about it too much.
Okay. Welcome back. We're speaking with Sean Brodrick. Sean, gold, is it hanging in there, or do we expect it to go higher?
Gold is kind of moving sideways right now, but if you look at some big picture charts, in fact, I've been posting them on EdelsenInstitute.com. I have a story that went up Saturday and another one that's going up Tuesday at 4 p.m. And what those show are the big picture charts in gold are actually quite bullish. And that's matched what we're hearing on the ground as well. One of the largest bullion dealers in Japan said that its gold bullion and coin sales in the first quarter were up like about 25% over the first quarter last year. And we're seeing investors pile into the ETFs that hold physical gold bullion. So we're seeing actual physical demand. The charts look extremely strong. And there are other forces as well. Now, what will make gold go up faster or slower is what happens with the U.S. dollar. Right now, the U.S. dollar is trying to hold support. If it holds support, that makes acceleration in gold more difficult. But, the action in the gold miners themselves is very bullish because we're starting to see the move ahead of gold. That's what you expect in a gold that's what you expect in a bull market all through the first quarter and partly into the second quarter. We actually saw the miners underperform the metal. That's not what you expect in a bull market. That's a sign that there's a lot of uncertainty and people aren't willing to put money at risk. But now we've started to see the miners outperform the metal. That's a very bullish sign.
Is there anything else that would go hand in hand with that? And the U.S. currency play, how important is that to gold?
Well, I think what happens with the U.S. dollar is very important to gold. After all, gold is priced in dollars. At least for a big part of the world. Now, over in China, they have their own exchange where they're actually trading it now, and so there is that. That's good. But, I think the U.S. dollar has a lot to do with it. We'll see what happens. Certainly the tax and spend situation in the United States should not be bullish for the U.S. dollar, should be bearish for it. We'll actually have to see how that plays out. It's very hard to predict the currency markets. I hate to try and do that because these are the biggest markets in the world, and it's so easy to get wrong, but I think the trends are actually bearing out in gold's favor, I would say.
We'll have more with Sean Brodrick right after this.
I'm Greg Johnston, CEO of Carl Data Solutions, an industrial Internet of Things company that provides big data solutions for monitoring critical infrastructure. Carl Data offers machine learning and predictive analytics features through our cloud-based applications to deliver key asset-saving operational insights from massive amounts of data. Carl Data trades on the CSE symbol CRL and the pink symbol CDTAF. For more details on Carl Data, please visit carlsolutions.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Sean Brodrick. Sean, the International Monetary Fund had a very bullish outlook for the global economy. Over 3% growth. I had the exact number here, but of course it's disappeared under my pile of notes. But I know for Canada and the U.S., they've actually downgraded our projected growth for this year. Why is the world doing better than Canada and the U.S.?
That's a great question. Because I have to tell you, yes, the IMF just raised its outlook for global GDP growth for 2018 to 2019 to 3.9%. And, now they are projecting that the U.S. will grow faster than Canada, that we'll actually see good growth in some other places as well. And they're still expecting good growth in places like China and India. So that's good for all sorts of things. That's good, for example, oil prices, right? Because if you have good global growth, then people tend to use more oil. I'm not sure why Canada is down. I haven't looked into that, frankly. I would think that if things look bullish for the oil industry, that would be bullish for Canada. I know that, that's one of the things that actually affects your actual economy. So I'd have to look into that further, but I have to say the outlook for global growth is quite good. And so that's exactly what you want to see as an investor if you're a bullish investor, is good global growth.
Well, one of the things I can see that's not good for the Canadian economy is provincial and federal governments are doing everything they can to chop the knees out from underneath the real estate market. They have no idea how much of the economies of the provinces and the federal government depend on a healthy real estate market.
What are they doing to real estate?
Well, it's much harder to qualify for a mortgage. They have a stress test now, and BC's imposed a 20% tax on foreign buyers. So if you wanted to open a business in BC and you're from Japan, you can't own a house.
Well, on the other hand, isn't that good for Canadians that these foreign buyers can't come in and just drive up prices willy-nilly, which they have been doing, making housing unaffordable for many people who live in Canada? Well, and then some foreigner comes in and he buys the home you want and he pays cash. That happens in Florida too, by the way.
Yeah.
I have friends who have had foreigners showing up with a literal suitcase of cash and buy their house for more than they were asking for it. And so I can see why Canada wants to put the kibosh on that. If you think that's bad, we're going to have to disagree on that, my friend, because I think it's actually a good thing to keep housing affordable for the people that actually live in the country, rather than have a bunch of empty homes, which, long run, that's not actually great for the economy, because a bunch of empty homes means there aren't people in there to use up all the other goods and services that you have in that local area. So I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah, Vancouver now does have a vacant home tax, and although it's hurting people who work in two different cities and have to fly back and forth, apparently they don't want that to happen. Maybe they'll smooth things out, but one of our former prime ministers, Diefenbaker, said government is the art of skillful surgery done with blunt instruments.
That is true. And I have to say, one advantage the U.S. has is that President Trump is lifting a lot of regulations which many industries found were really tying their hands. No one wants pollution or, that kind of thing, but if it's a friendlier business environment, like if a company could operate in, say, Alberta or in Nevada, and in Nevada it's suddenly getting all these breaks and the taxes are going down and like so on, then it might actually want to operate in Nevada. That might be one of the challenges facing Canada. One problem that both countries will have to actually go through is what happens with NAFTA this year, because we are seeing that worked out, or at least the politicians say it's being worked out, between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. And everybody says they're getting what they want, which makes me think no one's getting what they want, And they'll all focus on these headline items which appeal to certain groups within their country. And yet, maybe that might not be what the people who actually have to deal with these rules all the time actually want. So we'll have to see how that works out too. But the coming change in the NAFTA rules could have a big impact on everything. I hope it's a positive impact, but that doesn't necessarily mean so. So we'll have to see how that works out as well.
Well, President Trump's threats of putting tariffs on all kinds of Chinese goods looks like that might have paid off, because China's just announced that it will allow foreign car makers to open factories in China that they can own 100% of.
Yeah, I noticed that too. That was a rather timely announcement by the Chinese.
So
now, they did say they were going to restrict that to countries they had good trade relations with, which I think is kind of a stick they're waving at the U.S., saying, you should work out a deal with us on some things so that you get this too. And the Chinese recently announced new tariffs on U.S. sorghum. So I wouldn't know sorghum if I saw it, but nonetheless, that it has a higher tariff on it. So we'll have to work things out with China. They seem more agreeable than a lot of people thought they would be, and probably because they realize it's like such a huge market, so they have to deal with it one way or another. It's actually quite positive. I'm not nearly as really fearful as it was of a trade war between the U.S. and China now. I think they might be able to work something out. So I'm kind of hopeful about that. We'll see.
Well, the U.S. is China's biggest customer, so it's no good killing your biggest customer.
Exactly, yeah.
And somebody said to me, China is all about business. They have a military there, just to remind you they could maybe be nasty if they wanted to, but really they'd rather sell you an airplane than use it to bomb you.
Isn't that the case? Yes.
Sean, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks. I had a great time. I always enjoy talking to you, and I always have great conversations with you.
Sean, can you maybe remind people of all the different websites you have where they can get more information about the stuff we talked about?
Well, sure. You can start out at weissratings.com, which is, that's kind of the big cheese company that I work for, but I write columns for EdelsonInstitute.com. I write columns there Tuesday and Saturday, and Mike Larson, who is one of my colleagues, he writes a column there during the week as well. And you can look for Wealth Supercycle, which is my monthly newsletter. And I also have Supercycle Investor, which is a premium newsletter. And you can always follow me for free on Twitter, which I highly recommend people do. That's Sean Brodrick, no E in Brodrick, and I'm on Twitter. And, shout at me and I'll shout back. It'll be fun.
Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you.
My guest has been Sean Brodrick, senior editor at weissratings.com. If you have any questions for Sean or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.